Good morning, students. This is class 12th physics. We are doing unit number 8, atoms and nuclei, chapter 12, atom. So children, various scientists, they gave the model of atom. Firstly, children, in 1803, John Dalton, he proposed atom to be the tiny indestructible particle with no internal structure. He said that atom is the smallest of all. Atom cannot be broken down, it cannot be divided, and it has no internal structure. Right? And he called his model as Dalton model. Then children, later J.J. Thomson, he proposed the plum pudding model, right? He proposed the plum pudding model in 1897. And in this model, he said that the atom consists of positive and negative charges. J.J. Thomson had discovered electrons. Later, Rutherford worked on this model and he came up with another model as Rutherford's planetary model of atom in 1911, right? And he said that atom is a small, dense, but it consists of positively charged nucleus, and the electrons, they are revolving around the nucleus, right? Later, children, 1930, finally Niels Bohr worked on the model, and finally he gave the model, that is Bohr model of hydrogen atom. So let's study the Thomson atomic model. So children, Thomson atomic model, it is based on two postulates. Postulate number 1 says that the atom consists of positively charged spheres with electron embedded in it. So he said that the electron to be similar to a watermelon, right? In this, as you can see, the seeds are embedded into the red fruity part. So here he said the same thing, that the positive charges are embedded in the atom, right? And the red color fruity part in the watermelon, he compared it to the electrons, right? So the atom consists of positively charged spheres with electrons embedded in it. So it was like this. And he gave the second postulate, that is the electron is electrically neutral. That is, the number of positive charges and negative charges are equal in magnitude, right? Then children, later Rutherford did some experiments on this, right? And he found that his scattering experiment, Rutherford's scattering experiment which he performed, this model was unable to explain that. So this was one of the limitation of Thomson atomic model, which is also known as the plum pudding model. And the second limitation of this model was this model did not explain anything about the nucleus of the atom. It did not explain anything about the nucleus of the atom. And then came the scientist Rutherford. Rutherford, children, he experimented in 1911. So in his experiment, what did he do is, as you can see in the picture over here, okay. So he first took a radioactive source. So this is a radioactive source, and he took the radioactive source as Vi 214 and 82. So this was the radioactive source which he took. Now this radioactive source, he kept it in some container, right? He kept it some brick type of things, right? That is known as the lead cavity. And why? So that to give the direction to the beam of alpha particle. So from the radioactive source, the alpha particles are going to come up. So to give it a direction, he kept it in a lead cavity. Now, this alpha particles, they were allowed to fall on a very thin gold foil. And here he had placed a rotatable detector, and this detector, children, it was made up of zinc sulfide screen. So zinc sulfide screen, so whenever, children, the alpha particle hit on the screen, a scintillation or a spark was produced. So it could be easily made out where the alpha particle is striking the screen, right? So the scintillations were counted at different angles from the direction of incident beam, right? So what was observed, children? What was observed? Children, it was observed that most of the alpha particles, they passed through the gold foil undeflected. It did not undergo any deflection. So most of the alpha particles hit the screen over here. So a number of scintillations, a number of luminous hits were produced at this part of the screen, at this part of the detector, showing that most of the alpha particles, they are passing through the gold foil without any deflection, right? Then he also observed that only some alpha particles were deflected by very small angle. Only some alpha particles. Here you can see that the alpha particles which I am showing with, let me show it with black color, that only some alpha particles were getting deflected, and that too with a very small angle, right, children? And occasionally means about one alpha particle in 8,000 alpha particles, it got deflected by more than 90 degree. So 1 in 8,000, right? So this was very rare. Okay, so this is your Rutherford alpha particle scattering experiment. So here, children, he had plotted the graph of number of scattered particles versus the scattering angle, right? So it was seen, children, that most of the maximum alpha particles, they passed undeviated. So here you can see 10 to the power 7 alpha particles are over here, means their scattering angle is 0, right? As the number of alpha particles are decreasing, the angle at which they are scattered is increasing. So very less alpha particles are getting scattered at greater angles. Some of the alpha particles are getting scattered at very less small angle. Maximum alpha particles, they are passing straight through the gold foil and they are going without any deflection. So this is the graph of number of alpha particles deflected versus the scattering angle. So children, it was found that if n is the alpha particles which are scattered per unit area and n is a function of theta, then it varies inversely of sine to the power 4 of theta by 2. So the number of alpha particles scattered per unit area, that is n theta, is inversely proportional to fourth power of sine theta by 2. So this was the relation between the scattering angle and number of alpha particles scattered per unit area. Right, children? So these were the observations from the Rutherford alpha particle scattering experiment, that most of the alpha particle, it passed through the coil without any deflection, without any deviation. So most of them are collected over here. Right, children? The second observation was, children, that around 0.14%, 0.14% of the incident alpha rays, it scattered by more than 1 degree. Means more than 1 degree deflection was observed by very less number of alpha particles, that is only 0.14% of alpha particles. And occasionally, that is around 1 in 8,000 alpha particles got deflected by more than 90 degree. So this were the observations by the alpha particle scattering experiment of Rutherford. Now from this, what conclusion do we come to? Right, from this, what is the conclusion? So let's see the conclusion, children. So as Rutherford observed that most of the alpha particles, they passed straight, undeviated. So children, this proves that atom is mostly empty. It has a lot of empty space, right? And a very less or very small, a very dense nucleus is located at the center of the atom, and its size is also very small. Its size is about 10 to the power minus 15 to 10 to the power minus 14 meter. This is the conclusion made by Rutherford from his first observation, right? Then Rutherford saw that from the second observation of the Rutherford, that is the scattering of, here it was seen that the scattering of alpha particle, right? Alpha particles are getting scattered. Why do they get scattered? Alpha particles positively charged, and the nucleus must be positively charged, so only positive they are repelling. So there must be Coulomb's law for electrostatic force of repulsion between the positive charge of nucleus and the positive charge of the alpha particle. So due to that only the scattering of alpha particle is occurring. So he came to the conclusion that the nucleus is having positive charge, right? Then children, it was seen that in extremely rare cases, it was seen that the alpha particle, it got deflected at 180 degree, right? It was seen that it got deflected at 180 degree. So children, it was seen that the distance between the electrons and the nucleus, the distance between the electrons and the nucleus is from 10 to the power 4 to 10 to the power 5 times the size of the nucleus. So the electrons are very apart from the nucleus, right? Now, these were the conclusions from the observations of Rutherford alpha scattering experiment. Right. Now, children, here we are going to discuss the distance of closest approach. So, distance of closest approach is, as you know, children, that nucleus is positively charged. The alpha particle which is coming is positively charged. So, alpha particle and nucleus being positively charged, they will experience the Coulombian force of repulsion, right? Means the alpha particle will be able to approach, will be able to reach near the nucleus up to a certain distance only, because as it goes as it goes very near the nucleus, the force, the repulsive force becomes stronger, and it repels the alpha particle, and the alpha particle retraces its path, means it begins to move back on the same path. So this distance, this distance till which the alpha particle can approach, the alpha particle can go near the nucleus, that distance is known as the distance of closest approach, right? So let's discuss that. So children, when alpha particle is moving towards the center of the nucleus, means this is your alpha particle and it is moving towards the center of the nucleus. So it can move close up to a distance r0. वो r0 distance तक ही जा सकता है. r0 से ज़्यादा distance तक वो नहीं जा सकता. Why? Because at that distance, the kinetic energy of the alpha particle becomes equal to the electrostatic potential energy, right? So after this, the alpha particle begins to retrace its path. After this, the alpha particle will begin to move back. This distance is known as the distance of closest approach, right? This distance is known as the distance of closest approach, right? So let's try to derive the formula for the distance of closest approach. Now children, here we are having the alpha particle. Let the mass of alpha particle be m and velocity of alpha particle be v. So kinetic energy, as the alpha particle is moving towards the nucleus, it will possess kinetic energy. So kinetic energy of the alpha particle be Ek equals to half mv square, right? Now the charge of alpha particle is 2a and the charge of the atom is Ze, right? So the potential energy between them will be EP equals to 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught Q1 Q2 upon R. Q1 is RE, the second charge is ZE upon the distance between them is R0, because R0 is the distance till it can approach. And what is Z, children? Z is the atomic number of the atom, right? Now at R0, what happens? This kinetic energy and potential energy, they become equal. So the kinetic energy and potential energy, they become equal. So 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught 2 EZE upon R0 equals to half mv square. So from this equation, we can make R0, that is the distance of closest approach, as subject of formula. And so R0 equals to 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught 4Ze square upon mv square. So children, this is the distance of closest approach. And here we are having one more parameter, that is the impact parameter. So children, impact parameter, it is denoted by the symbol small b. And what is impact parameter? Children, impact parameter, for example, here the particle is having velocity. This is the velocity vector as the particle is moving like this. This is the velocity vector of the alpha particle, right? So the perpendicular distance between the velocity vector of alpha particle and the center line of the nucleus, the line passing through the center of the nucleus, the perpendicular distance between them, that is the velocity vector of alpha particle and the central line of the nucleus of atom, is known as the impact parameter, right? So the formula for impact parameter is B equals to 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught, that is K, Ze square cot theta by 2 upon kinetic energy, that is half mv square. Right children, so this is your impact parameter. And when children we are having a head-on collision, means the particle is coming like this and it will hit, it is not going to hit, it is going to reach, it will cover the distance of closest approach, and then because of the repulsive force it will retrace its path. So here children, the center line of nucleus and the velocity vector, they both are the same. So the distance b, so the distance b for them is 0 because it is the same line. So as the impact parameter is 0, it is getting deflected at, or it rebounces back. So you are going to have theta as pi. Right? So this is your impact parameter. Now we are going to summarize the Rutherford's model of atom. So according to Rutherford, the atom is a small and it is massive central core in which positive charges are there, and whole mass of the atom is concentrated there. This core is known as nucleus. The size of the nucleus is about 10 to the power minus 15, and it is very small as compared to the size of atom. Next, nucleus is surrounded with negatively charged electrons, right, by suitable number of electrons, so that the total negative charge is equal to the total positive charge on the nucleus. An atom as a whole is electrically neutral. And what did he say about the electrons? The electrons revolve around the nucleus in various orbits, just as planets revolve around the sun, right? The centripetal force, which is required by the electron to revolve around the nucleus, is provided by the electrostatic force of attraction between the electrons and the nucleus. So children, this was your Rutherford model of atom. This too had some limitations. So let's discuss the first limitation of Rutherford model. Children, the first limitation was, he said that the electrons are moving around the nucleus. But children, we know that an accelerated charge, electron is a charge, and as it is moving in a circular path, it is performing an accelerated motion. So an accelerated charge should emit radiation. We have done chapter 8, electromagnetic waves, right? So by electromagnetic theory, we know that whenever an accelerated charge is moving, it will emit radiations, it will lose some energy. So according to the electromagnetic theory, as the electron is an accelerated charge, it should emit some radiation, it should emit energy continuously, and as it will emit the energy continuously, it will go on losing its energy, and finally it should fall into the nucleus. But no, this does not happen. So this was one of the limitation of Rutherford model. The second limitation of Rutherford model is, children, it could not explain why atoms emit light of only discrete wavelength. Why they are emitting light of only discrete wavelength? Why not continuous? Why only discrete? Right? So electron move in all possible paths will radiate waves. He said that electrons हर possible path में move करेंगे, वो radiate करेंगे frequency, हर एक frequency, waves of all frequency, right? But the atomic, और उसके हिसाब से atomic spectra continuous होना चाहिए, but the atomic spectra is not continuous. The waves emitted are not of all frequency. So these were the limitations of Rutherford model. Okay, children, this is it. We'll continue in the next class.